Well, happy Thanksgiving week to everyone. Thank you. We have so very much to be thankful for here, don't we? Wouldn't you all agree with that? For this beautiful spiritual center, for one thing, our spiritual sangha of people on our spiritual path that we travel that path with, like food and clothes and shelter and beauty all around us. I'd like you to take a moment right now and just think, really think about it. What are you most grateful for in life? The one thing that you are the most grateful for. Think hard and come up with the one thing that you deem to be your greatest asset. Conditioned as we all are to materialistic values, I'll bet that some of your minds started weighing which tangible thing is your greatest asset. I won't ask for a show of hands there. However, if you really carefully search within yourself, you may come to the awareness that your most important asset is the conscious control of your own life, the conscious control of your life. Nothing else can satisfy you like that can, unless you experience the freedom that comes from the control of your inner world and your inner feelings. Aren't we often victims of our thoughts and feelings? We believe them. They're just passing through like movies, but we latch onto them and identify with them and believe them. And then we don't have control of our lives anymore. We think we are those thoughts and feelings. Now that's something to be truly grateful for, to be in control of our inner life. Think about it. The great American poet Walt Whitman wrote Leaves of Grass, once wrote, "Oh, while I live to be ruler of life, not a slave, to meet life as a powerful conqueror, so nothing exterior to me shall ever take command of me, so that nothing exterior to me shall ever take command of me." This is a huge idea and one of the main tenets of unity, Buddhism, and modern psychology. To be masters of our ship, to be masters of our soul, and not be ruled by outer events. That's something to be truly grateful for. And I think that wisdom is embraced by everyone here. I'm sure you all know that. At least in theory, we all know that's true. We just need to work on applying that wisdom to the everyday circumstances of our lives. We just need to apply it to every situation, which is difficult, but that's what a spiritual practice is. That's what we should be doing. Anyway, the possibility of inner freedom is something to be truly grateful for. If we practice not letting the outer world affect us so much, and remember that we create our world with our consciousness, we won't have to deal with nearly so much suffering and stress and fear and negativity. And that frees us to notice all of the beauty and the miracles that abound, which most people miss. Many people come to study, for example, the Course of Miracles, thinking they'll learn how to create miracles. Several people have come to my class with that in mind. Well, it says Course of Miracles, I'd like to learn how to produce some. What they learn, though, in being with the book, is that they start seeing all the miracles that are everywhere, every day, that we miss normally in life. Now, that's something to be grateful for, right? Hans Christian Andersen once said, "The whole world is a series of miracles, but we're so used to them We call them ordinary things. I'd venture to say that most of us, at least some of the time, me a lot of the time, we let other people, we let outer circumstances take control of us and enslave us much of the time. Look how many Americans, for example, have become slaves to the fluctuations in the stock market, the economy, the latest COVID statistics, or who's in political office or who's going to be in political office. Ask someone how he feels, and he might say, I'll tell you after I read the stock market returns, or after my CPA tells me how much I owe on my taxes this year, or after I see what mood my boss is in today. All too often, we allow ourselves to be manipulated by these outer circumstances and conditions, and we let them block our appreciation of all the gifts that are in our lives. We're in our heads all the time. It's that monkey mind. Unity great Eric Butterworth tells of a man who was told by his doctor that he didn't have but 6 months left to live. Many people would have responded by withdrawing from the world and feeling self-pity and bitterness. But not this man. He reported to work the next morning, as usual. His co-workers asked about his prognosis, and they were shocked when he told them. Someone asked him, well, what are you going to do? He replied, I will do what I have always done. I will live with a grateful heart, one day at a time. 10 years later, this man was still alive and doing well, living one day at a time, living with a truly grateful heart. Was the doctor's diagnosis an error? Perhaps, but I believe that it's more likely that the man was actually healed by his powerful experience of gratitude. The man demonstrated in his life a very important principle of truth, that thanksgiving is not just a reactionary emotion to what we are receiving. It is a causative energy that we put out. True thanksgiving is not an effect, it's a cause. True thanksgiving is an effective key by which you can, in the words of Walt Whitman, meet life as a powerful conqueror. Another way that we miss opportunities to be grateful is that we often consider gratitude and thanksgiving on the basis of obligation. For example, if someone does us a favor, we feel obligated to show some kind of appreciation. Some people feel that we owe it to God to give him thanks for all our blessings. I believe it's good to thank God for our blessings, but I don't really think that we owe it to him. First of all, God is not a person. Secondly, God doesn't have a human ego that needs our praise. It doesn't make any difference to God whether you thank him or not. He's just going to keep on giving. But it makes a great deal of difference to you to feel and express your gratitude. Gratitude is not for God. You are not obligated to thank God for your life or for your prosperity. However, giving thanks is a very important state for your consciousness, which keeps you in an awareness with your oneness with the divine flow, with spirit. When we understand this, we see that a grateful heart doesn't need something to be grateful for. Think about it. A grateful heart does not need something to be grateful for. Think about that a minute. One can be grateful with the same joyous spontaneity as being happy. It simply flows from within us and becomes a causative energy. It creates around you a vortex of prosperity and abundance. The Apostle Paul gave some advice that has puzzled many people. He said, in effect, these words: In all things, give thanks. All things? Should we be thankful for COVID and Hurricane Ida and sickness and unemployment? Let's look again at Paul's statements, and let's note that he doesn't say, for all things, give thanks. Rather, he says, in all things, give thanks. In other words, we can feel thankful in spite of our problems. We can feel thankful for the awareness that every challenge is an opportunity for growth. Grist for the mill, as Ram Dass calls it. Indeed, this attitude of gratitude is one of the best ways to rise above the level of the problem and to elevate our awareness to the level of the solution. Michael Korda said, never walk away from failure. On the contrary, study it carefully for its hidden assets. A grateful state of consciousness will see the assets in every situation and spin them into gold. It's like the unity affirmation that says, I look for and find the ever-present good in my life and in the lives of others. Repeat that. I look for and find. I look for and find the ever-present good in my life, the ever-present good in my life, and in the life of others, and in the life of others. The person whom Eric Butterworth described, who had only 6 months left to live, may have had little to be thankful for, yet he had a thankful heart, which is a dynamic key to personal health and prosperity. Remember the story of my childhood friend Judy that I told you about, who suffered from severe depression despite her doctorate in psychology? Remember I told you last time that she finally found someone who suggested to her that she spend 30 minutes a day writing down all that she was grateful for, and that is when her depression went away after decades. Well, after the service 2 weeks ago, someone in our congregation, longtime member of Unity, came up to me and told me that his wife had done the same thing with him, asked him to write down every day what all he was thankful for, and that the same thing had happened to him. He quit being depressed. Many people have shared similar personal stories with me. A grateful heart attracts to it all kinds of positive energy, including what it takes to dissolve depression, addiction problems, and health issues. The wisdom of a grateful heart is taught by spiritual teachers of all ages. Remember Katrina's quote from Plato, "A grateful mind is a great mind which eventually attracts to itself great things," essentially. We might say of someone, "Oh, he has so much to be grateful for." But according to Plato, it may be that he has so much because he is grateful. The grateful heart opens the way to the flow of good and becomes an attractive force that draws to it great things. Remember the story of the man from Europe who was visiting New York City for the first time? He had been told that New York City was polluted and crime-ridden. So his host wisely took him first to the observation deck, remember? And he was at one of the highest buildings, maybe it was Empire State Building in New York City. He looked out, and what he saw was this beautiful panorama, clear day, magnificent scene to all of them. The visitor was surprised and delighted that New York City was so lovely there from his high view of the city. And the man remarked that later he could not forget that beautiful view from the top. He had a wonderful week-long visit and returned to Europe with a favorable impression of the city. Bottom line, start with the view from the top. Look at life from the top. That's a powerful thought to live by. Before you react negatively to people, conditions, or things, take a moment to lift your eyes up. Contemplate all the challenging experiences of life from the highest point of view, from Christ's vision. Look with your Christ vision at everything. Regardless of the appearances and our worldly dimension of lack or limitation, look at all things from the awareness of the allness of life and the ever-presence of spirit and abundance. Viewing from the top means seeing with your Christ vision. Put on your Christ vision glasses. Remember to do that. Problems can't be solved from the same level of mind where we create the problems. We need to rise to a higher mind, our higher mind. That higher paradigm is the Christ vision paradigm. Often we give our problems over to God. I know, looking out at you all here, we all do. We give our problems over to God in prayer. The problem is that soon after, our ego takes them back, right? And we start trying to solve them in worldly terms, in terms of our ego. Maybe we receive from some relief for those moments that we are in prayer and meditation, when we let go and let God. But we must choose to keep our Christ vision throughout every day. Through our Christ consciousness, we will see the divinity, the peace, and miracles that abound in the world. We will then develop an attitude of gratitude much more easily because we don't have to have faith. We will verify it. That is one reason why the Course of Miracles emphasizes that we must constantly ask God to help us see things differently. To see with Christ's vision is what they're talking about. Christ's vision is seeing from the top first, like the man on the Empire State Building in New York City. It is seeing all life from our higher consciousness vantage point, our higher self. There's an old saying that a donkey may be laden with sacks of gold, but never know how prosperous it is. Imagine I'm the donkey here. This is heavy, let me tell you. All it knows is that its burden is so heavy. Sometimes we're like that donkey. We go through life only feeling the weight of the circumstances, and we don't appreciate the precious nature of the life that is with us, the value of every golden minute, and the possibility in every situation. This is so heavy that all I can think about is how heavy it is. But my gosh, I look inside. It's all gold in there. Imagine. But I don't see the gold usually. All I feel is this burden. Heavy. Everything can be a golden learning opportunity, if nothing else. That is the gold that we are always carrying. Sometimes we're so laden with this burden of outer conditions that instead of lifting up our eyes, we walk with our head bowed down and our eyes fixed on the ground. And if we keep that posture with our eyes down, sure enough, we're going to draw to us more lack and more limitation, and all we'll ever feel is the weight of that gold on our backs. It's like the experience of losing our keys and searching everywhere, only to discover they were in plain sight all the time. Abundance and things to be grateful for are always in plain sight if we're wearing our Christ lenses. If we choose Christ's vision as our way of looking at the world, we will see all of the abundance and all of the possibilities everywhere. And it's up to us. And even the things we've been programmed to view negatively will begin to change. Some people, in realizing the importance of a grateful heart, begin to look for outer things. That's kind of the beginner's way. They look for outer things to be thankful for. Oh, I love my house. I love my new chair. I love whatever. But when we look to outer things to create our grateful heart, we may fall into the trap of seeing not just what we have, but what we don't have. And even more insidious is seeing what we don't have that others do have, and we believe we should have too, right? When we rely on things outside of ourselves to create our grateful heart, we may end up developing kind of a jealous heart instead. The truly grateful heart does not look for things outside of itself to be grateful for. Unity says, give thanks not from things, but from the awareness that there is always a limitless supply of good available to you, perhaps even in spite of appearances. The grateful heart draws to itself great things. End of quote. When we pray for prosperity from a consciousness of lack, we may be reinforcing our belief in lack rather than alleviating it. When we pray for healing out of a consciousness of disease, then we may be compounding the problem instead of healing it. Pray not for things to happen, but from the awareness that good has already met your every need and that you are now just claiming your good. The classic example of this principle is in the Gospel of Luke 9. The account of Jesus dealing with over 5,000 hungry people. The disciple reported that the only provisions they could find was one boy's lunch. They looked up to heaven and they gave thanks, not for the inadequate provisions they had, but thanks from the realization of the all-providing abundance that is everywhere. Jesus lifted his eyes above the appearance of lack and limitation. He was getting the view from the top, so to speak. Jesus knew that there wasn't enough bread, but there was enough substance. Jesus knew that the entirety of God's substance is present at every space. Jesus exhibited the grateful heart and thus did great things. As the gospel account tells us, Jesus blessed the food, and it was distributed to all the people in such abundance that there were 12 full baskets left. Such is the power of the grateful heart. 5 loaves, 2 fish were obviously inadequate to meet the needs of 5,000 people. But Jesus took the loaves and the fishes in his hands, and he thanked God for the abundance, which became all that they needed. The metaphysical meaning of this story is clear. If we have a grateful heart and come from a consciousness of abundance, there will be prosperity on many levels. This story isn't about some magic trick, some legerdemain. I doubt that it ever happened on a literal level. But the metaphysical meaning is clear. Our consciousness creates our world. We constantly attract to us whatever we need and are open to receive. We convert everything in life to abundance. That's the meaning of that story to all of us. Historically, whether it happened or not, who knows? But the point is, in our lives, we can convert everything and get exactly what is needed. This is how Jesus raised Lazarus, too. Remember, Lazarus had been dead for 4 days in the tomb when Martha asked Jesus to bring him back to life. His body was already decaying. They commented on the smell. He was dead. The first thing Jesus did was to tell them to roll back the stone that was covering the cave where Lazarus was. Then Jesus told Lazarus to come out, and Lazarus came out. Jesus knew there was no problem. Metaphysically, the stone that Jesus asked to be removed is the block in our consciousness that we need to remove that causes us to see problems and not the metaphysical, miraculous possibilities that are within us. I doubt that this story is factual either. It doesn't matter. But it is certainly talking about truth. Miracles and all sorts of possibilities abound in life if we'll just look from a higher vantage point, like the visitor in New York City who only saw a wonderful city and not the crime and pollution his friends had warned him about. Keep alive your commitment to see the view from the top. Keep centered in the feeling of thanksgiving. Let your thanksgiving this year be more than a response to what is happening around you. Let it be a celebration of truth, of abundance and possibilities, which then becomes the cause of a steady stream of blessings in your life. Whether it's food to feed 5,000 or bringing Lazarus back to life or transforming some of the seeming lead in your life into gold, the principle is the same. Be thankful for everything, and you'll have everything to be thankful for. And the last thing that I would like us to think about before Thanksgiving this week is all the blessings that we have and how we can share them with others. That's part of what Thanksgiving Day is about, breaking bread with loved ones and sharing ourselves with them. Whether it's your time, your talent, your tea, others can greatly benefit from your God-given blessings. The more we share these with others, all of them God's children, the richer our lives will be. Sharing is a way of showing our thanks for all that we have been given. The gift of a smile or a kind word, a helping hand, a word of encouragement are all beautiful gifts. Give some child 10 minutes of your undivided attention. I would encourage you to express your thanks for all your blessings by paying it forward and sharing what you have, and you have so much this Thanksgiving. What you do to the least of these, you do unto God. Tolstoy once said, "Kindness enriches life. With kindness, mysterious things become clear. Difficult things become easy, and dull things become cheerful." In 2 Corinthians, it says, God is able to provide you with every blessing in abundance, so that by always having enough of everything, you may share abundantly in every good work. So, starting this week, raise your consciousness in the area of gratitude and blessings, and think of all that you have to be grateful for, and show your gratitude by sharing with others who really need your time, your talents, your peace, your wisdom. Let someone in your lane during traffic hour. Smile at a stranger, call an old aunt, pay it forward for all of your blessings. This will help you develop an attitude of gratitude, which will bring myriad blessings into your life, which you all certainly deserve.